Now it is time for Chapter 33, Reunion. As she fell, Bree questioned her entire plan. Now with the forest below rushing up to kill her, she wondered why she didn't just use the Vitarium bracelet with Blaze and get out of there with him. She had planned everything in a rush and now wished she had more time. She turned her head to the sky to see the orange light swooping down toward her as she fell. Part of her began to panic as she figured they'd never reach her in time. She looked back down to the forest even closer than before. This idea was foolish, and she was about to pay for it. Thankfully, the orange lights reached her and swarmed underneath her body, slowing her down. She winced as she glided over the trees and toward the town of Ernma. She could feel her body slowing to a stop, so she opened her eyes. The swarm of fairies had her hovering near a fence at the forest edge in the northern end of Ernma. They had softened their orange glow and was merely just a light hue on their skin. They slowly set her down on the ground and fluttered into a group before her. "Thank you," she said to them, making them all chitter in excitement. A few gestured to the barn across from them. Bree hopped the fence and made her way to it, entering from the open door nearby. 3 fairies followed her in and made her approach a large pile of hay. She sat on it and looked up at them. "The rest are spread around the town?" The fairies all nodded and made her lie down and rest. She didn't want to sleep as she waited. After a while, she heard the approach of some animal and sat up. The door at the far end of the bar opened and the rest of the fairies swarmed in. Blaze followed close behind, and with him was Odiana. Bree quickly stood and ran to them. She hugged them both and felt herself crying. "I'm glad you're both okay," she sniffed through the tears. "Why did you send me back to the fairy cave?" Blaze asked. "I didn't. I think the bracelet sends you where you were thinking of when you pressed the middle symbol. I mentioned Morgana's wand before I pressed it, and since you were wearing it, I hoped you were thinking of Odie and got sent back there." "Very smart," Blaze replied. "Once I got there, I saw that Odiana was healed and she was waiting for me. Shen then told me to meet you all somewhere in Ernma and that the fairies would lead the way. Odie held on to me and pressed the bracelet again, and we appeared at the end of town. The fairies were all waiting." Bree smiled and took the bracelet off his collar. She placed it on her wrist again and then reached into her own hip pack and took out the feather from the top of the wind tower. "This is for you," she said, attaching it beside the fire feather. Blaze's eyes sparkled with the electricity. "I feel the power of wind and sky, including storms." "Thunderbird feather," Odiana said. It was then that Bree noticed Morgana's wand in her hand. She gestured to it. "Looks good." "Thanks," Odiana beamed. Blaze looked between the two. "How did you set this all up?" Bree stood and walked to the pile of hay again. "On the tower, I teleported back to the fairy cave and gave the wand to Shen to heal Odiana. I then told the fairies to create a distraction in the sky over the wind tower while I got you all out of here. I told them I would jump from the mountain and that they should catch me. Didn't you notice that I was now wearing my backpack?" Blaze cocked his head to the side. "No, I guess I didn't. That jump was dangerous. Why didn't you just teleport out of there with me?" Bree shrugged. "I knew I had to be holding you to teleport as well, and that Reagan and Zirim would be watching me like a hawk. Maybe I could have done it, but I figured it was easier to sneak the bracelet onto you and send you away and fend for myself. They wouldn't kill me, but they would kill you. Although Reagan did jump at me with a sword to kill me after I sent you away." Blaze curled up beside her. "Maybe he wanted to injure you, or Zirim knows a way to get the ether without you." She shrugged. "I can't think of how. In fact, I can't think of much more. I need some rest now. I might still have some of that bat poison in me from the wind tower. The fairies will keep watch while we sleep. Once we're rested, we'll be able to focus on the last 2 elements." Her eyes had begun to shut as she talked, and she soon drifted off before she could hear Blaze's response, if he even said anything. Short chapter today.